Arjun provides four arguments. The first argument is from verses 28 till 30, and the second argument is from verses 31 till 35. The first argument is compassion. He is feeling meaning quite bad about having to fight in a war with his own family, friends, and relatives, and needing to kill them. He knows that if he fights, he will kill them. So he doesn't want them to die. That is the first argument. The second argument is loss of enjoyment. He connects these two with each other to say that at one end, I am forced to kill my own family members. But if I were to get some enjoyment, then maybe it would make sense. Like the way Duryodhan is happy about fighting the war, right? And we saw how Duryodhan feels when he is describing the war situation, the arrangement of the army to Dronacharya in the first section of the chapter. And he is not at all sad, he is not morose about it. Whereas Arjun feels very sad about having to fight the war and needing to kill the family friends and relatives. So that he is saying that I am required to do something which I don't want to do. On top of that one, I'm not going to get any enjoyment out of it. Duryodhan at least senses some enjoyment because he can get that feeling of happiness of defeating Pandavas, which was his lifelong aim, and becoming the king as well and usurping the kingdom of Pandavas. So many different reasons of enjoyment were there. Arjun is not finding a single reason of enjoyment. So he's saying, firstly, I'm supposed to do something which I don't want to do. On top of that, and I don't have any, I'm not going to get any enjoyment as well. Now he extends that argument further to the third argument to say that leave alone enjoyment, what I'm going to do is actually sinful. So imagine a situation where you are forced to do something which you don't want to do. You are not going to get absolutely any benefit. On top of that one, you are going to get all the problems. Sinful activities will be committed, and if you have to talk in terms of today's society, then it will be a criminal. It will be an offense to commit such an activity. You are not going to get any benefit. You do not want to do it. So that is how we links the second argument with the third argument that we will learn today. Yeah. So from verses 36 till 38, this third argument will be presented by Arjun. Anybody has any question, or shall we move on? No question?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, Plu. So, okay.
Move कीजिए. Let's move.
Okay. So shall we take this verse 36? Okay, let's see. You all can unmute. You can chant with me. This is a three-line verse. Papamevashrayed asman
पापम् एवाश्रयेद् अस्मान्
अत्वैतान् आततायिनः
हत्वैतान् आततायिना
तस्मान्नार्हा वयं हन्तुम्
तस्मान्नरः वयं हन्तुम्
धार्तराष्ट्रान् स बान्धवान्
धातराष्ट्रान् स बान्धवान्
स्वजनं हि कथं हत्वा
स्वजनं हि कथं हत्वा
सुखिनः स्याम माधव.
सुखिनः श्याम माधव.
I just wanted to propose something. Last week, Garima ji proposed, we should basically do a reconciliation of what we did during the class today, meaning on that day. So last 5 minutes, maybe we can spend on sharing our thoughts about whatever we learned today. So if that is okay with all of you.
Sure.
Yes,
Yeah.
Prabhu.
Okay, great. So somebody can read the translation.
I can do that.
Yes, please.
Sin will overcome us if we slay such aggressors. Therefore, it is not proper for us to kill the son of Dhritarashtra and our friends. What should we gain, O Krishna, husband of the goddess of fortune, and how could we be happy by killing our own kinsmen?
Great. Now, we may not have the liberty of time to read each and every purport written by Srila Prabhupada, but this one we should read because it gives extra information about this word called as aggressors, which atatainah is the word, the Sanskrit word. Okay, so atatai meaning something which is beyond an any kind of proportion, meaning any kind of behavior which is beyond the permissible limits, beyond any permissible proportion. Now, let's read this purport. I will tell you where to stop. If somebody can, yeah,
I can, I
yeah,
can read.
yeah,
Okay.
this until this one, the highlighted one.
Okay. According to Vedic injunctions, there are 6 kinds of aggressors: a poison giver, one who sets fire to the house, one who attacks with deadly weapons, one who plunders riches, one who occupies others' land, and one who kidnaps a wife. Such aggressors are at once to be killed, and no sin is incurred by killing such aggressors. Such killing of aggressors is quite benefiting any ordinary man. But Arjuna was not an ordinary person. He was saintly by character, and therefore he wanted to deal with them in saintliness.
Thank you. So now let's see what is the background behind which Arjun makes this kind of statement and whether it is right or not. Okay. So to take a summary of this particular section, from this particular verse, number 36 till verse 38, Arjun presents his third argument for not fighting the war. And the name of that argument is fear of sinful reactions. Krishna refutes this argument in the second chapter from verses 33 till 37. You may not remember these verses now. We will reach to these verses and then we will link those answers of Krishna with the arguments of Arjun. So, what has happened in the previous verse? In the 35th verse, he has said, what pleasure will I get by killing my relatives? Ka priti syat janardana. Okay. Now he is saying, leave aside pleasure, but now there will be suffering by killing my own relatives. Why? Because this is a sinful activity. He is saying, papam evashrayat asman. Pap meaning sin will give me shelter. So when do we come under somebody's shelter? When we surrender ourselves to it. Why? Either because we accept that superiority or somebody somehow he has conquered us. Let's say, for example, how do we say? Um, a person who is a laborer, let's say, for example, and he is in front of the divisional vice president or something like that, just to uh, create the gap in terms of positions between them. So what will happen? Anything that the DVP says, the vice president says, that person will meekly, humbly agree and do it. Right? He has basically surrendered to him. Right? So he is saying, Pap will give me shelter. That means I will be so lowly in front of, because of my activities performed, that the personification of sin will give me shelter. That is the level of his thought process about committing such a sinful activity. Okay. Now he is calling them atataina. Atataina, we talked about the person who performs actions beyond any permissible proportions. Now let's look at how these 6 type of aggressors which Prabhupada has mentioned in the purport, they link to the actions by the Kauravas. So the first one is a poison giver. Do you remember the event where Duryodhan gave poison to Pandavas? Yaad hai? Anybody? So when Bhima was a child, Duryodhan had given
Yes, Prabhu.
poison.
So I remember.
Yeah.
Yep. Duryodhan जब they were in Gurukul, I think that
Yes,
time.
exactly. Correct.
So they were. Then Duryodhana, due to his enviousness, gave. He knew that if somebody will able to kill him in future, it would be always Bhima only.
Bhima. Yeah.
And so he gave poison to Bhima, and then they tie up with some stones and thrown into the river so that Bhima will die.
Correct. Correct.
Right?
एंड जिसमें वो पॉइजन दिया था वो उन्होंने खीर बनाई थी, खीर के थ्रू पॉइजन दिया था उसको।
हाँ खीर के थ्रू दिया था, राइट राइट।
एंड उसके आगे क्या हुआ था पता है ना प्रभु? यू वांट टू स्पीक अबाउट इट?
आई थिंक देन ही रिवर में स्नेक्स थे तो
यस
राइट, सो वासुकी वो दे टुक हिम टू द नाग लोक, राइट।
या
तो वहां पर भीमा को उन्होंने फिर दूसरा एक पॉइजन दिया, आई थिंक उनका जो एक नेक्टर था शायद,
हाँ
समथिंग।
नेक्टर दिया।
तो जिससे भीमा जो था ही गॉट पावर ऑफ 10,000 एलिफेंट्स, आई थिंक, राइट।
या सो जितना मुझे याद है, सो व्हाट हैड हैपेंड वाज द नागास दे किडनैप्ड हिम and they took him to the king, to their own king, and Bhima was still unconscious, but somehow they brought him into consciousness. And then when that king asked him who he is, and then he said, I am the son of Kunti and Pandu. Then the king immediately realized that he is his relative, because in some way, exactly I don't know, but Kunti was related with the king of the Nagas. And then he decided, oh no, ये तो अपना relative है, अपना guest है, we can't kill him. So then he asked him what happened, how he fell over there and all that. Then he realized that there is poison in his body. So he gave him the antidote for that, a form of nectar, and he told him how much ever nectar he wants, he can drink it. So Bhima ने पहला glass उठाया पिया, and then he liked it very much, and that way he drank 17 glasses, and each glass of nectar was supposed to give Bhima around the strength of 1000 elephant या 10,000 elephants ऐसा. So then that way Bhima became very very strong after drinking all of these glasses. So whatever Duryodhan tried to do उसका उल्टा हो गया था. But the fact that Duryodhan gave him poison still remained as a fact. So that was the first type of aggressor. The second type of aggressor is one who sets fire to house. So you all must be knowing that Lakshagriha incident. The Duryodhan purposely built a house of wax and similar material for Pandavas to stay in. So वो time पे all 5 Pandavas plus Kunti was staying in that house, and on a particular day they meaning they set it ablaze. But because of Vidur's kind of awareness, they were able to escape that by creating a tunnel out of it. So that was the second activity. One who attacks with deadly weapons, which Duryodhan and the other Kauravas have done many times to them. One who plunders riches. Duryodhan and Shakuni, they cheated Pandavas in the game of dice, and they plundered their wealth and the whole kingdom, which is the reason why this fight was going on. One who occupies another's land. They looted the Pandavas' kingdom as well, right? Unethically. Had they come ethically to fight with them and then win the war and then win the kingdom, it would have been a different one. But they cheated them. One who kidnaps a wife. You all must be aware, Jayadratha is the husband of the only son of Kauravas. Dushala was the sister, I'm sorry, not son. Dushala was the sister of the Kaurav, the 100 brothers, and Dushala's husband was Jayadratha. Jayadratha played a very important role in the war, because of which Abhimanyu was killed later. So Jayadratha tried to kidnap Draupadi, and also Dushasan attempted to disrobe also her. So all of these 6 kinds of aggressors, where where the actions related to such aggressors were already performed by all these Kauravas. He is saying that despite they being atatai, every atatai here, Prabhupada says that as per Manusmriti, no sin is incurred by killing such aggressors. And in fact, Manusamhita, I'm sorry, Manusamhita recommends punishment, death penalty for such kind of aggressors. The only reason being, whatever misdeeds they have performed here in this life, they should suffer for it in this life itself, and they should not carry forward that sin into the next life. That's why death penalty is recommended for such sins. Every of the sin it is recommended. A death penalty is recommended. All of these six are present in the Kauravas, but despite that, Arjun is saying that no, for me it will be like a sin being performed by killing such people. And that's why he is saying, how can I be happy by killing my own kingsmen? Now this is all because of the saintly nature of Arjun. To go a little bit technically, which meaning I'll try to avoid as much going into technical in the subsequent verses, but just a little bit here. There are two shastras, two categories, Artha Shastra and Dharma Shastra. There are some other as well. Okay. Arthashastra says that such aggressors should be killed. Dharma Shastra says that you need to display a saintly behavior and apply the principle of forgiveness. Now, Arjun was talking on the basis of Dharma Shastra here. Okay, now Krishna is being addressed by Arjun as Madhav here. Yeah, so Madhav means one who is the husband of goddess of fortune. That means Lakshmi Pati. Now, the reason he is calling Madhav here is he is saying, by performing such activity, I will be committing sin. By committing such sin, I will receive hellish punishment. Okay. Whereas you are Madhav. Madhav is the husband of goddess of fortune, Lakshmi. Generally, whenever Lakshmi comes, it is very auspicious, and Lakshmi never leaves Madhav. So, how can you encourage me to commit such an activity which is completely inauspicious, sinful, and I will have hellish punishment? And you are, despite you being a Lakshmipati. So that's why he is calling him as Madhav. Okay, we can move on to the next verse. If at any point, please feel free to stop me in case you have any question. Yeah. If not, we can move on to verse number 37. These are two together. So you can unmute yourself and we will chant the verse. Yadyapete na pashyanti
यद्यपि
यद्य एते एते न पश्यन्ति
लोभोपहत चेतसः
लोभोपहत चेतसः
कुलक्षय कृतं दोषम्
क्षय कृतं दोषम्
मित्रद्रोहे च पातकम्
मित्रद्रोहे च पातकम्
कथं न ज्ञेयमस्माभिः
कथं
तं न ज्ञान्यत् अस्मभिः
पापादस्मान्निवर्तितुम्
पापाद् अस्मान् निवर्तितुम्
कुलक्षय कृतं दोषम्
कुलक्षय कृतं दोषम्
प्रपश्यद्भिर्जनार्दन
पश्यद्भिर्जनार्दन.
Translation, anybody?
Okay, I'll do. O Janardana, although these men, their hearts overtaken by greed, see no fault in killing one's family or quarreling with friends, why should we, who can see the crime in destroying a family, engage in these acts of sin?
Okay. So Arjun is like basically saying that these people are greedy. They want our kingdom. Let them fight if they want to. We know better. We are not interested in such kind of foolish activities. we should not find. They are overcome by greed, we are not overcome. So Arjun continues his reasoning for not fighting the war. And in 31st verse, he had asked, what good could be there in killing the relatives? Now he is asking if he will incur so much sin, let alone good. Now he in this verse he understands basically that if he doesn't kill them, they will kill him. Okay, and the probability of war not happening is almost zero. But he is still saying that fine, if they want to kill me, let them kill me, but I don't want to kill them. Yeah, they are blinded by greed, but we are not. We understand. So yadyapete, meaning even if these people, okay, they na pashyanti, they cannot see. What they cannot see? Dosham. What dosham meaning? Grievous, wrong, very very wrong. Okay, and patakam meaning in Ram Raksha Stotram, in case you have heard, Ram Raksha Stotra is called as Mahapataka Nashanam, meaning patak in itself is a kind of a extreme sinful activity, and within that also he is saying that Mahapataka Nashanam, meaning if you chant Ram Raksha Stotra daily, it is the Mahapatak also gets destroyed by chanting Ram Raksha. So that word patak comes here as well. It is an extremely sinful activity. What is an extremely sinful activity? Because kulakshaya krutam, the action of kulakshaya, kula meaning dynasty, kshaya is the destruction, and krutam is action. So their consciousness, chetasaha, is uparuta, meaning it has been abducted, it has been stolen. Who has stolen that? Lobha, that is greed. Okay, and what will happen because of that? Mitra drohe, meaning it will bring extreme reactions caused by betrayal and among friends, meaning when one friend betrays another, it is considered to be a kind of a very great sin. So that is what he is saying. How can we carry out katham papa dasmani vartitum, meaning such a sinful activity? How can I do it? Because this is going to call kulakshaya, destruction of dynasty. When we can see prapashadvi, when we can see the crime in this activity, that is krutam dosham, o Janardhan. Again, he is using the word Janardhan to highlight to you, Krishna, that you are supposed to be a maintainer of living entities, everybody, but you are making me perform activities which is going to cause destruction not just of the current people, but the subsequent descendants also. Okay. So now we all understand greed, but basically greed means intense and very excessive desire for something. So when I desire to eat a sandwich, that desire and when I'm greedy to eat sandwich, both are different, right? So when you apply this on from a material perspective, it is kind of selfish and negative. But when you apply it on spiritual desire, it is positive. If I'm greedy to take darshan of Krishna and serve him and do deity worship for him, that is better. So greed in itself is not bad. The object to which greed is directed at, that determines whether it is bad or good. Okay. So here he is talking about greed. In today's world, greed is actually glamorized and positively depicted. If I'm greedy for success, material success, the current culture, current society considers that to be very positive. But that is only because they do not understand the purpose of human life, and because of which their intelligence is very narrow. Now, Duryodhan was very greedy for, conquering the kingdom of Pandavas. And he was not just for the kingdom; he wanted to ensure that the Pandavas were ruined, defeated, and they're insulted as well. So he used to generate happiness out of it. Now, we will look at this particular point little later also, but just to summarily cover this one. there are drawbacks of Arjuna's reasoning for not fighting the war. Yeah. So if you look at it as per the societal concepts, Arjun's reasoning is right. Killing somebody is wrong, right? Then usurping somebody's land and something like that is also wrong. And killing somebody for our own benefit is even wrong. So from that perspective, Arjun's arguments may seem to be correct. But the problem with Arjuna's confusion is he's thinking that he is a body and he has forgotten that he is a Kshatriya. Okay. And the conception, the thought process that Arjun is operating under, it is that limited conception of the body and the soul. What what will get corrected by Krishna is exactly this misconception. And we will see that in the second chapter. So Arjun is thinking that they behaved in an evil manner, and if I kill them, that will be equally or even more evil. So he is thinking that I am going to treat evil by evil, and that is not right. But Krishna will explain to him that you are treating evil with dharma. You're not behaving in an evil manner. And we will see how that is. Uh, there are quite a few points here about being able to see prapashadbir, meaning when you see something, it is not necessary that that actually carries the fact. But when you see with the eyes of knowledge, there is a technical term here which is called as Shastra Chakshu. Chakshu meaning eyes and Shastra is scriptures. You need to see with the eyes of scriptures and the scriptural knowledge, and accordingly we should act. So what Arjun is doing is exactly opposite. Arjun is applying the concept that he has studied over a period of time and applying that via the understanding he has developed via the society, that he is applying it and he is trying to understand. Now, that being incorrect, Krishna will correct him in the second chapter. Okay. Any question around this one? Or shall I move on? Okay, fine. Let's move on. So verse number 39, we'll chant together. Kulakshaye pranashyanti
कुलक्षये प्रणश्यन्ति
kuladharma sanatanaha
कुलधर्मः सनातनः
Sanatana
dharme nashte kulam krutsnam
धर्मे
Dharme
नष्टे
Kulam
कुलं
adharmo bhi bhavatyuta.
अधर्मोऽपि भवता
Translation, anybody?
Yes, Prabhu, I will read.
Yes, Prabhu.
With the destruction of the dynasty, the eternal family tradition is vanquished, and thus the rest of the family becomes involved in irreligion.
Thank you, Prabhu. So now we finished the third argument by Arjun in the previous verse, verse number 38. Now in this verse, verse number 39, we are starting the fourth argument by Arjun. Now you will see the way he has structured his argument. The He has provided a subset of multiple small arguments, which actually is under the umbrella of one big argument that is called as destruction of family traditions. And he links each and every small action with the subsequent action and links it together until this big topic of destruction of family traditions. That he goes on up till verse number 45. And in 46, the chapter ends with Sanjay describing Arjuna's situation, and it gives rise to the second chapter. We will go through all of these. Okay. So what was happened? Arjun was concerned due to compassion. That compassion extended to the loss of enjoyment, and he is saying, "Forget enjoyment, we will incur sinful reactions." Right now, he is saying, "I don't see any benefit in killing them, and although their hearts are overtaken by greed." Okay, he is saying that the kulakshaya, if you remember in verse 38th verse, he had used this topic, right? Destruction of dynasty. He's saying it is not just sinful, but it will also cause the it will also impact the subsequent generations, and not just our family, but it will impact the society as well. And now we will see uh, how he links that with the destruction at a society level. Krishna has refuted this particular argument in verse number 45 and 46 of the second chapter, and verse number 24 of the third chapter. And we will whenever we come to those verses, we will link it. Okay, so now Arjun is putting up a argument which revolves around the traditions that are supposed to be followed. So what happens is, when elders in a family are killed, what happens? The traditions are lost. Nobody remains in the family to impart this education to the subsequent generations, right? If my parents, uh, probably, let's say, did not teach me why should we bow down to elders, why should we respect, why should we do so and so puja, why should we do so and so thing, why should we not lie and all that, what would have happened? I wouldn't have got any knowledge. So that would actually force me to not pass this knowledge to my children also. So either physically or by character, the destruction of family or family traditions will happen. Now today, many people find offering पिंड पिंडदान करते हैं ना हम लोग. So offering pinder to ancestors, many people consider that to be nonsense, sort of. That is because the knowledge from the previous generations hasn't got passed to them. That's why this activity is being considered only at a superficial level, not understanding the real message behind it and the real scientific aspect behind it. So it's considered to be some kind of a frivolous activity. Now, Kula Dharma Sanatana, he says, okay. So now this statement in itself is incorrect, and which is also a evidence that Arjun is thinking only at a bodily level. Sanatan means eternal. Eternal means it is not bounded by time. Okay. Every activity we do, okay, it is bounded by time. It The activity started at a certain time and it ended at a certain time. So there was a time when this activity did not exist, and there was a time when the activity would be past as well. So that means it has a beginning, it has an end. But actions which do not have a beginning or an end, which are not bounded by time, they are called as Sanatan. So Arjun is referring to the family traditions as Sanatan. So he has not understood this point, that at a certain point of time, the whole dynasty did not exist. So if the dynasty itself does not exist, how will the traditions of dynasty exist? So to say that this is Sanatan Dharma, Kula Dharma Sanatana, is technically incorrect also. And as we move on further, you will see at many places Krishna says that how the world gets created and how the world gets destroyed. And this cycle of creation and destruction continues to happen. And we will go into that deeper later. Let's move on to the next chapter, next verse. Now you will see this particular verse it ended with adharmo bhi bhavatyuta. So if you see, the linkage has happened. Linkage of the previous verse, okay? Kulakshaya krutam. Okay, so destruction of family dynasty has been taken in here in verse number 39 as the starting point. So with the destruction of dynasty, family tradition is vanquished, and thus the rest of the family becomes involved in irreligion. So point number 1 gives rise to point number 2, that gives rise to point number 3. Now family becoming involved in irreligion. So now what he is saying, when irreligion is prominent in the family, so that becomes the starting point of this verse. That's why this particular argument of destruction of family tradition, it's a hierarchical reasoning. One reason gives rise to another, giving rise to third, giving rise to fourth, that way. Okay, so let's read verse number 40. Adharmabhi bhavat krishna
Adhar Adharmavi
Adharmadhi Krishna
pradushyanti kulastriyah
Dusyanti Kulastriyaha
Kulastriya
स्त्रीषु दुष्टासु वार्ष्णेय
ईशु
Strishu
दुष्टा
Dushtasu Varshneya
Vasya
जायते वर्णसङ्करः
जायते
Jayate Varna Sankaraha.
Karaha.
Translation. Who's reading?
When irreligion is prominent in the family, O Krishna, the women of the family become polluted, and from the degradation of womanhood, O descendant of Varsni, comes unwanted progeny.
Yeah. So now you see adharma bhi bhavat Krishna. Adharma, that is irreligion, becomes meaning abhibhavat, meaning it becomes kind of a dominating factor, meaning that is something which is more prominent uh, within a family or within a character of a person or within a society. So irreligion, when it becomes prominent, what happens? He is now giving his own reasoning here, and this reasoning is not incorrect. Okay. The women of the family became polluted. So become polluted. So what happens then when irreligion happens? There is either a external force on the women of the family because of which they are either kidnapped or whatever it is, or when irreligion in terms of character happens, then the family or the women in the family may become attracted to other men as well, and that way they can become polluted. So what will happen because of that? Degradation of womanhood can happen, and from that can come unwanted progeny. Now this unwanted progeny can be interpreted in different manners, but here what Arjun is saying is people who become a nuisance to the society, that those such people are unwanted. So it is not that a child is born and it is just to take that argument further, a child is born outside the marriage, that's why it is unwanted. No, it is not because of that alone, but because such people may become a kind of a nuisance to the society, that is why they are called as unwanted progeny here. So you see the linkage here. Yeah. So now if we apply these destruction of dynasty has happened, family tradition will get destroyed, and family can become involved in irreligion. When irreligion it becomes prominent, women of the family can become polluted, and degradation of womanhood can happen, and that can cause unwanted progeny. Now you see descendant of Vrishni, this name has been given to Krishna by Arjun using the word Varshneya. Okay, a descendant of Vrishni. So what he is saying now by referring to Krishna as descendant of Vrishni, he is saying that the dynasty of Vrishni is nicely living, and you are part of that dynasty. So now your dynasty is flourishing very well, but now you are making me fight in this war, which is going to cause the destruction of the Kaurav and Pandav dynasty. So how can you, whose dynasty is flourishing well, cause me to destroy my own dynasty? So that is why he is using the name Vrishni for Krishna here. So now, so throughout Bhagavad Gita, these kind of, names are purposely used by Arjun to Krishna or Krishna to Arjun. And that name also carries some context, a meaning here. Okay, now we can move on. If you think that these verses they being covered, if I'm going fast, please stop me. If you think that we are covering too many verses in a class, please let me know. If you are okay, only then we will proceed with the subsequent verses. Otherwise, we can do this in the next week also. What do you prefer? Garimaji, you are silent today. All okay?
Yes, yes, all good. I'm just not feeling that well, so just keeping
Oh, okay.
myself on mute.
Okay,
Thank
okay.
you.
Prabhu, we next time kar lenge, Prabhu. I think the philosophy is very strong now, right?
Okay. Fine, fine. No worries. No worries. So do you want to let's spend some time trying to recap these verses. So we covered, I think, 5 verses from verse number 36 till 40, right? And we are 5 people here. And Mataji is also here. So you can take up one verse and recap or basically discuss about it. What do you think you learned from it? So who's taking verse number 36?
Uh, Prabhuji, I would say that everybody can share their own
Yeah,
the
yeah. Correct, correct. Fine, fine.
realization of today. That I don't
Yeah.
know. This is my suggestion. Like,
Yeah, yeah, fair enough, Prabhu. Thank you. Sure. So let's start with verse number 36. Anybody wants to make a point? What did they understand from this verse?
Prabhuji, for me, the key word was here atatain.
Huh,
आताताइन मीन्स जो 6 तरह के भगवान ने अर्जुन को बताए कि इन ये सब करने से उसको पाप नहीं लगता इन आताताइयों को मारने से।
correct.
जैसे जिसने किसी को विष दिया हो, जहर
Huh,
दिया हो, या किसी के घर में आग लगाया हो,
correct.
या पर स्त्री का हरण किया हो,
Correct.
और किसी का धन चुराया हो,
चुराया हो या जमीन चुराई हो.
या जमीन पे कब्जा किया हो या चुराया हो, है ना?
Yeah, correct, correct. So there is no sin in killing such people.
there is no sin in killing such people. So Krishna is trying to convince Arjuna that you are not doing wrong if you are doing this by killing even your relatives. There will be no sinful reaction to you.
Correct. Just एक ही correction करता हूँ प्रभु. Sorry for that.
नहीं
Is
नहीं,
so,
please
so
bro.
far so far Krishna hasn't spoken to him. This is Arjuna's own reasoning now.
Oh,
And
sorry, yeah, yeah, yeah.
so Krishna will answer and basically correct him from the second chapter onwards.
Right, right. Second में आपने reference भी दिया 31 to
Yeah, correct.
response to it, right?
Yes,
So, so this should not be our take home from this verse that actually the people who have done these sins, we if we kill them, then it's okay to kill them. जैसे आपने बोला कि दो तरह के वो होते हैं, एक था अर्थ समथिंग और एक धर्म।
हाँ,
तो अभी तक ये नहीं पता है कि कौन सा सही है और किस एग्जाम्पल में वो सही रहेगा, करेक्ट?
correct, correct, correct. And
आई मीन
Mataji, you are right, absolutely right. This should not be our takeaway. But अभी हम लोग क्या कर रहे हैं? We are just trying to understand Arjun's thought process. Why is Arjun not wanting to fight? And Krishna will correct him. And what is Krishna's argument over Arjun's argument, that we will see, and then we can see what is the right takeaway that we can see.
ओके, एंड जैसे आपने वो दो दो बताए थे, एक था
धर्मशास्त्र और अर्थशास्त्र.
धर्मशास्त्र, अर्थशास्त्र, तो किस टाइम पे कौन सा अप्लाई होना है?
So Arthashastra basically talks more from a kind of a rules and regulations perspective at a bodily level. Dharma Shastra talks more at the level of the soul, mental level, the soul level पे. हाँ. So at any point of time, the soul always should get higher preference over the body.
ओके,
But there are times when you have to give body as a preference. For example, समझो हमें बहुत हम लोग बीमार है, तो एक बार कभी हम लोग समझो मंदिर नहीं जा सके. So और अगर मंदिर जाने के लिए बीमारी is stopping us from going, then we have to temporarily give importance to our body, recuperate properly, and then we can continue the performing the duties of the soul. So वो
ट्रू,
at a meaning practical level हमें थोड़ा balance करना पड़ता है. So we can move on to verse number 37 and 38. What do you think is the kind of a lesson we learn from this one? So basically अर्जुन का thought process क्या है, हम लोग अगर ये भी समझने का try करेंगे, so that also will be sufficient. So Arjun is basically a very saintly person. So despite being facing so many meaning troubles from people like Duryodhan, he is still compassionate and not want to fight with them. Right? Any other point?
yeah,
Any?
and well, that greed point was very nice that you had brought up, that in like agreed to do service to God or to get darshan of God, is the greed word is taken in a positive way. So there is no, the word greed itself is not the negative word, but depending upon what is the greed for, like लोभ, काम, क्रोध, लोभ, मोह, अहंकार का अगर greed है तो वो गलत है. And in today's world, as we say, a success or ambition or to achieve something, the greed to achieve all these things is taken in a very positive manner, which is not true. मतलब हम अपनी, हमें लगता है कि उस greed को हम priority देके हम कुछ भी कर सकते हैं और वो सही है, वो नहीं है वो actually सही.
Correct.
So that was a very nice point that you brought up.
Thank you so much. Any other point? Anybody? Chitraji, you have been silent. Mataji, any point from your side?
Uh, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
In this,
So,
I understood that we know this is not a good act. Actually, we know about the sin. So Arjuna is asking why we know sin, but then why we are doing it? Why we are trying to kill our family members and our friends?
correct.
If we know, we have the idea what we are doing. Why we
Correct.
are engaged in this battle?
Correct. Correct. Perfect. Perfect. Okay. So just two more verses. So
So
39.
very simply, that what we get from last 2 3 verses is all that we see is not just the limit. I mean, it's just limited actually. All that we are seeing or is from our limited eye. मतलब कि अर्जुन अर्जुन कह रहा है किसी को मारना जो है वो गलत है, बट उसको बाद में कृष्ण समझाएंगे कि वो क्यों सही है. सो
Correct.
इसका मतलब जो हमें समझ है वो एक्चुअली समझ नहीं है,
Correct.
मतलब वो
Exactly.
सही समझ नहीं है.
ट्रू. ट्रू. वेरी वेरी ट्रू. सो कभी कभी हम लोग धोखा खा जाते हैं अपनी नजरों की वजह से. वी माइट प्रॉब्ली मिसअंडरस्टैंड द सिचुएशन आल्सो. So until we understand it from the eyes of the scripture, that is only when we understand it in true sense. And
Yeah,
one of the supporting points for this one is, तो हम लोग जनरली एग्जांपल में देते हैं कि लाइक इफ टू पीपल आर सीटेड इन टू डिफरेंट रूम्स विच इज स्प्लिट बाय अ वॉल, यू कैन नॉट सी द अदर पर्सन, राइट? तो हमारे आईज दे हैव अ डिफेक्ट that you cannot see beyond the opaque object, right? तो जो 10 फीट की दूरी पे जो लड़का बैठा है दूसरी रूम में, मैं अगर उसको नहीं देख पा रहा हूँ, तो हाउ कैन आई सी समथिंग विच इज ऑन कंप्लीटली अ डिफरेंट प्लैनेट, different universe? So
Very, very true.
that is
Very
where we need the eyes of the scriptures to teach us about something which is beyond the current universe, beyond the current Brahmanda, and think about spiritual planets. So only those people who have been able to visit those planets and they mercifully transfer this knowledge to us via scriptures, only then can we understand. That is where people like Narad Muni and Vyas Rishi and all that, they come in picture. Okay. So verse number 39 and 40, any points you want to discuss about it? Anybody? Deepak Prabhu, Mangal Mataji.
I think here Arjuna is trying to, explain to him that by just killing of, just this generation or whatever, the entire family values that get, uh, that flow down across generations, that entire knowledge, traditions, everything gets, dissolved,
Yeah.
and it goes away. And
Yeah.
that is why the whole then, all subsequent generations then don't understand what is right, what is wrong according to the religion, and
Okay.
all the traditions that have been there go off.
Yes, perfect, perfect. And he then extends this concept to the subsequent effects also, right? And that is how he links it with the unwanted progeny. And when we come into the next week, we will see how these unwanted progeny, they create disturbances into the society. Then we will see that is what Arjuna's argument is. So great. So it was good. We are closing on time. Any question? Anybody? Or shall we wrap up for the day? Okay,
Yeah, we
great.
can wrap. Thank
Okay,
you.
great. Thank you so much. And
Thanks a lot.
please feel free to give any feedback that you may have. Thank you. See you
All good.
next week.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Prabhuji.
Thanks a lot.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you. Thanks a lot.
Hare
Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.